Greetings, I am Toglin, Hell's Harlequin, but you may call me Tog. Today we're going to be reading a Health at Every Size philosophy article. Body acceptance begins with grieving the thin ideal. Permanent weight loss isn't possible. Diets don't work. Oh, but that makes her so sad, and that's not just because she's very poorly drawn. Beginning down the health at every size path can trigger a grieving process because there are a number of things that we once believed and hoped for that we must give up in order to truly make peace with our food and our bodies. For instance, we have to give up the idea of one day achieving the thin ideal, as well as the idea that we can use food and exercise to control the size of our bodies. Except for you can use food and exercise to control the size of your body. I mean, not your height unless you're still growing, but you can definitely be thinner or fatter, or more muscular. We also have to process the idea that we've devoted so much time and energy to achieving long-term weight loss without success, or perhaps with success but copious amounts of misery. You can't just use pancakes to make everything better. How sad. That just makes you so miserable. In order to truly heal, the version of ourselves that we have carried for years and years has to come to an end. Because most of us have believed in the thin ideal and the power of dieting for decades, it's only natural for some very strong emotions to be triggered when we realize we've been sold a lie. I remember when I first learned that permanent weight loss was not sustainable for most people. In a way, it was relieving. I bet, because you're like, oh, it's not my fault. I'm fat. It's not my fault. Everyone should just be fat. Because it confirmed my life experiences up to that point. It was also very sad, however. Well, you can't just be thin by not exercising and eating cake. I guess that is sad. I've convinced myself that if only I could get and stay thin, life would be much, much easier for me. Giving up that dream was not the slightest bit easy for me, and I imagine it isn't for you either. It's not easy and you're sad, but you're also relieved. Oh, okay. Okay. To help move through our emotions about giving up the thin ideal and dieting, it can be helpful to consider the stages of grief model. Denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. Note, it's important to understand that we don't necessarily move through the stages of grief linearly. We often bounce around when we heal. Use this list to identify stage or stages that you currently occupy and find resources to help you. Okay, let's look at the stages first. Denial. When you first learn at Health of Every Size concepts, I would like to be in denial that that's even a concept. Because I'm sorry, you can't be like 900 pounds and bedbound and healthy. You can be healthier, no matter what size you are, you can do things to actively make you healthier than you were the day before, but you can't be healthy. I'm sorry, you just can't. Health at every size would mean health at every size, yet I hear them do nothing but condemn anorexics. According to that model, wouldn't they also be healthy? Because doesn't your size not determine your health? So if I'm 6 feet and 90 pounds, I should be perfectly healthy as well as if I'm 4 feet and 800 pounds. That's just a really, really silly concept and a really weird slogan to say that health at every size. I would be on board if it was healthier or at any size. Not every size, but healthier at any size would be a good thing to stand behind, because obviously any person, regardless of where they are now, unless they are the biggest fitness freak on the planet, could do things to improve their lives, but I digress. It's easy to fall into denial because they contradict our dominant cultural narrative about weight loss and health. No, we often think, it can't be true. We reach back towards the familiar territory of diet culture because it's all we know, because it's so seductive. While in denial, we forget that dieting has been a fair weather friend. We remember the intoxicating joy of weight loss success, but forget the misery when the scale is higher than we want it to be, the pain of binging to the point of feeling unwell, the despair of realizing we're starving, but have already eaten our maximum amount of calories that day. You know, I hate to keep going back to my own weight loss, weight gain type stories, I've never really been much of a binger. I suppose there's the holidays and stuff, but I used to be considerably smaller about 5 years ago. I lost quite a bit of weight. I went down to a 14 to an 8. Actually, I didn't lose much weight on the scale. It was more I lost a lot of size. Because I was very muscular back then. But I very slowly gained the weight back. Well, for a while there, I didn't even think I was gaining weight because the scale was pretty static, but I was less active, so obviously fat was replacing muscle because I'm back up to a size 14, but it happened super slowly and it just kind of slowly crept on. But like I said, I was never much of a binger. Advice for the denial phase. Remember, it's normal to fall back into denial repeatedly, particularly given that it's hard to extract oneself from diet culture present in our families, workplaces, and friendship groups. 2. Educate yourself as much as possible about weight, and it's not an indicator of health. Except for it is. Check out my Health at Every Size book recommendations for lots and lots of great literature that explain these ideals. Remind yourself of the ways in which dieting has harmed you. Make a list and review it as often as you need. I'm sorry, but there might be some harmful effects of dieting, especially crash dieting, but it's not nearly as harmful as just letting yourself go completely. A lot of wars are fought just by holding the line. I feel like, from my personal experience, when people give up dieting completely, what happens is they don't reach their magical set point. They just slowly keep getting bigger and bigger because they're like, why the hell not? At least in my experiences, a lot of people who quit dieting are far bigger than if they've tried and failed, because then they usually maintain sort of like a chubby equilibrium rather than getting to the ginormous phase. Anger. Often the anger phase of our body acceptance grief process manifests as anger towards ourselves for falling prey to diet culture. However, it is important to know that you are not to blame. You are taught that you weren't worthy unless you lived in a small body. That message was reinforced in millions of large and small ways over the course of your life. You're not less of a person if you happen to be more person. It doesn't invalidate your existence. They have these really weird notions, and I would never condone bullying people. However, being really big is really unhealthy, and I think sometimes people need to be told their weight is getting out of control because you care about them. And what's really messed up about our society is most people who are obese aren't willing to admit they're obese. You have some extra chunk on you, you don't realize how obese you are. Like I said, I am currently a size 14, and to most people that's like, yeah, that's a reasonable size, that's fine. No, I am actually at the second level of obesity. I've got a BMI of 35, that puts me, or 36, that puts me like well above normal obese. I am like second phase obese, and everybody I look around is about the same size as me, so everyone's like, oh, you're fine. But no, me and people who look like me, we're obese. We are, like these people that everyone says, oh, she's a skinny stick. Those are usually the healthy people. You don't actually see that many underweight people. It's just people of normal BMI has become so rare lately that we think they're sickly thin, even though they're perfectly fine and we're the ones who have a problem. As all of this said, I believe it's really healthy to get angry at diet culture that led you to this place. There is no shortage of things to get angry about. Examples include, we were sold lies about the feasibility of permanent weight loss, despite the lack of trustworthy evidence, leading to the existence of a 60+ billion diet industry. The bulk of the diet industry is only that big if you include Diet Cokes. Now, with all that said, I do think that the diet industry is a big sham. When we're talking about the diet industry, we're talking about things like Slim Fast and Jenny Craig and all of those sort of pre-packaged deals. A lot of times they're way too high in sugar and They're meal replacements that just leave you starving. If you want a diet, don't go get a diet bar. Go to your produce section. Get real food. And, maybe a calorie tracker. All of that is either the same cost as normal food or free. I do think that the diet industry is a sham. I will agree with that. We were likewise told lies about the health benefits that would occur from being thin. Yeah, that's not lies, honey. That's true. From a very young age, we were manipulated into believing that we are not worthy of love unless we fit the thin ideal. Maybe that's just from a young age. You should have just been taught to lower your standards, because Prince Charming's not going to come for you unless you look like a princess. Sorry to say it. If you look average, you should go, that your dating pool's going to be someone average. If you're lower than average, that's probably going to be your dating pool, unless you're rich or have the most amazing personality on the planet. That a patriarchal system sets standards for women at levels that lead to self-harm. I've actually thought about this for a while, and I've come to realize when it comes to body image, I kind of think women have it easy compared to men. No, really, think about it. Like, girls, as long as you can be thin, that's like the pinnacle of what you need to be. Is as long as you're slim, that's what you see everywhere, and there's a lot of variations of body shapes and stuff for slim girls. It's just you need to be slim, which isn't that hard to do. Like, right now it sounds crazy me saying that because I've let myself get all chubby, but it's really not that hard to be slim. Now, for guys, on the other hand, when you look at their ideals, they not only need to be slim, but buff as hell. Like, do you realize how much more work it takes to being buff than just slim? So comparatively, I kind of think guys have stricter standards. I could go on, but chances are you can too. There are all these valid things to get angry about, and expressing that anger is an important part of healing. Advice for the anger phase. Let yourself truly feel anger, frustration, resentment, and express it in a productive way. I like to do this somatically, which involves recognizing how we store anger in our bodies. Intrigue? Read my how-to guide on how to feel your emotions somatically. Try and use free writing as another way to process your anger. If you feel so inclined, use your anger to motivate yourself, participate in activism. For example, you could start sharing fat positive, health at every size articles on your Facebook. Not real activism, just internet activism. Because if you did real activism and got out there and started marching, you could lose some weight, and that's bad. That leads to diet culture. Again, remember that this is not your fault. Get angry at society, not yourself. If you are continually feeling bad about succumbing to diet culture, considering writing "this is not your fault" on a post-it and put it somewhere prominent in your house to remind yourself, e.g. your bathroom mirror. Yes, brainwash yourself. Say, "This is not my fault. Me eating a large pepperoni pizza all to myself and drowning it down with a pint of ice cream and a liter of cola is not the reason I've gotten so fat. It has nothing to do with that. Not to mention I work a sedentary office job. Nope. Not at all. I played no part in this whatsoever." Okay, let's move on to bargaining. Bargaining is negotiating, trying to come with the trade or substitute to pursue instead of taking a difficult road, opting out of diet culture. What an awkwardly written sentence. That was really hard to read. A classic example of bargaining is, okay, maybe I'll lose some weight, then pursue intuitive eating afterwards. When I pursue intuitive eating, I think that 1,200 calories of lentils is a reasonable serving. But obviously now that I've been tracking calories, I am starting to understand where I'm going wrong. Unfortunately, these people who say this don't realize intuitive eating is not a weight management technique. It will restore whatever your set point weight is. Oh yes, this magical set point, which, you ever notice that fat activists, their set point keeps going higher? It's not very set now, is it? Which is likely higher than any weight you've dieted yourself down to. Or probably any weight that's reasonable. Well, I know that everyone will point out that there are thin people who use intuitive eating, and some of the practices are actually derived from dieting techniques such as only eat when you're hungry, stop when you're full, and listen to your body cues. Which isn't terrible advice. However, you're talking to people who are food addicts or who have eaten big portions all their lives, so have lost touch with proper portion controls, or their stomach is stretched out, so they need to be a little bit hungry for a while for them to eat like a normal person. So, as well as if you're eating intuitively, if you eat really high-calorie foods, even if you eat intuitively, you're probably still going to consume excess calories. So, as a concept or a technique, intuitive eating isn't terrible. But the way it's being used, let's say it's not being used correctly. The whole concept is just being abused by fat activists. I wish that they have never gotten a hold of intuitive eating, because just alone using those as concepts isn't terrible. Examine the reasons you want to bargain. What do you believe will be better about the things you're trying to substitute? Are there ideas that can be challenged? For instance, are things holding you back from doing things until you're in a smaller body? Well, I'm pretty sure your cholesterol would be better if you're in a smaller body. I know, small people get bad cholesterol too. But statistically speaking, you're more likely to have bad cholesterol if you're massive. Pursue coaching and/or therapy to start processing why you think you feel better at a lighter weight and heal the wounds of your body shame. But if you get to a larger weight, won't you be needing to heal the wounds of your body strain? Depression. Realizing that weight loss is not possible and that you've wasted so much time and effort to be thin and healthy inevitably results in sadness. Much like the anger face, it's important to allow yourself to truly feel the emotion of sadness. Advice for the depression stage. Remember again, this is not your fault. You're inculcated in all this from a young age. There is nothing to feel guilt or shame about. Find a community that can understand what you're going through. Share with them. And know that you're not the only one who has gone through this. Remember that you have a lot of power, even though you may be in a larger body, and that you don't have to be limited by your size. To this end, find a body-positive role model that inspires you. You might want to check my list of body-positive Instagrammers for inspiration. But you are limited by your size, like depending on what size you get. Heck, even if you're just more on the pudgy side, you can be limited by your size. Try hiking long periods of time. It's gonna wear away on your joints and things. I know that I don't like being in rides that turn you upside down when you're a bigger size, because that really digs into your shoulders and whatnot. So yes, you are limited by your size in ways that you might not even consider. Allow yourself to feel your emotions using somatic techniques or free writing. Acceptance. Oh, sweet acceptance. Acceptance is where you come to terms with the idea that you won't achieve the thin ideal. Yes, we want everyone to be fat. Very, very, very fat. In reality, that dieting doesn't work. The fact that we've spent a lot of time getting to this place. Note, of course, that arriving here doesn't mean you won't flirt with the other stages at times as well. Though you will likely spend increasing more times here once you steep yourself in knowledge and continue to heal. Advice for the acceptance phase. Enjoy yourself by continuing to explore more and more things you can do in your body. But how are you going to continue to explore when you're having a hard time even breathing in your body? You know, just asking. Consider activism. Internet activism, not real activism. There's others that can benefit from hearing your journey and your message. Yes, my journey on how I was someone who was trying to hold the line against my weight, but I just said fuck it and let myself get massive. Everybody's inspired by those types of stories. So in closing, here's some resources. I'm not going to read those. Anyways, what did you guys think of this article? It was fun, wasn't it? Speaking of which, I spoke about how I've let myself go a little bit, which makes me sad. So, the smallest I've ever been in my adult life is a size 8. I am currently working towards getting to be a size 6. As well as I have another vlog channel that's my Warhammer channel, which I will link down below. And I'm making a weight loss vlog, so I'm going to try and post videos on my vlog, on my Tog's weight loss vlog channel every week so you guys can keep up with my progress. I feel like I've been doing pretty well. I've so far lost 13.5 pounds, and it's been almost a week since I weighed myself. I'm only weighing myself once a week because apparently that's a little more accurate because your weight can fluctuate due to water weight and whatnots every day. So if you want to check me out, by the way, my vlog channel shows my face. In case you want to stare at my beautiful face while I talk into my cell phone. Yay. Alright, I wish all of you a pleasant rest of your day, and let me know what you think in the comments down below.